Now, the latest business confidence monitor, the BCM, for June 2025 has shown that Nigeria's business performance index has maintained positive momentum for 6 consecutive months in 2025. The manufacturing sector has emerged as the biggest contributor to this growth, driven by robust output in textiles, cement, and plastic, as well as rubber products. The Nigerian Economic Summit Group, the NESG, says the growth shows that businesses are adjusting better to prevailing economic realities and are cautiously optimistic about prospects. For more on this, we joined on the line by Patrick Ochoga, the chairman of Correspondents Chapel of Nigeria Union of Journalists in Edo State, Nigeria, and correspondent for Leadership newspaper. A very good afternoon to you, Patrick. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Yeah, good afternoon to you too.
So we're looking at the latest BC monitor, and what are the factors that attributed to the rise in the current index in May of 2025?
Yes, I think what we are beginning to experience presently as regards to your question is that the government is trying to attract foreign investments where people can come and invest in the Nigerian economy, look at some of the potentials for investment. And I think the government is equally focusing on building infrastructure, that will create that environment for foreign investors to come and put in their money. Be that as it may, I think the Nigerian people are more that people begin to see the direct impact on their lives. Beyond government dishing out and all that, the Nigerian populace wants to feel the positive impact where the common man can easily afford, the basics of life, so like we all know, the present government is just about barely over 2 years in office. Some of the laudable programs and ideas they have are yet to begin to have that direct impact.
Yes, and it does indeed, Patrick, does take time in order for these economic adjustments to start reflecting in the lives of the ordinary citizen. But when we look at the BCM, we are seeing some rather significant improvements in the areas of manufacturing, non-manufacturing, trade, agriculture, as well as the services sectors. But the manufacturing sector quite specifically emerged as the top performer. What measures were put in place in this particular sector that have led to this increase in performance?
Yeah, like I said, basically developing infrastructure, are beginning to get that attention. Government is beginning to create that enabling environment where prospective investors can come and invest, like tax rebates. We're beginning to see some tax rebates for some major investors, and governments are beginning to look at where, in the aspects of power, generation. We all know that power is very key. So governments are beginning to encourage investors to put in money in that sectors by encouraging them to invest in that aspect. So that for me, it's one positive sign. It's a big plus for the government. And like I said, the government is trying to create that enabling environment.
And how successful are they actually being, Patrick? I mean, you mentioned, for example, trying to stabilize the electricity supply. Be that as it may, that still remains one of the key structural hurdles within the manufacturing sector. From electricity supply to a shortage of raw materials, there's still the high import tariffs, escalating inflation. All of those are major threats. And if they're not addressed, what impact will they have on the sector and the business performance? You did mention that, yes, some progress has been made, but is it enough? And is it at a rate and at a pace that will contribute positively to the growth of the sector?
Come again?
You mentioned that, yes, progress has been made in some of these areas, but is it
Yes.
enough? And is it being implemented at a rate that is going to be of a positive contribution to the manufacturing sector?
Yes, progress have been made, no doubt. But more importantly, government need to address the issue of corruption. Government need to be transparent. Government need to be open, so that some of these positive idea can really come to fruition. But for me, more importantly, government need to focus more on building infrastructure. Government need to address the issue of insecurity, beyond having laudable ideas, beyond the good intended policy, this issue, particularly security, corruption, and transparency in governance needs to be addressed for these things to really have a direct impact it was intended to survive.
Patrick Ochoga, thank you very much for your insights this afternoon as we look at the latest business confidence monitor coming out of Nigeria for June 2025. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Patrick Ochoga, is the chairman of Correspondents Chapel of Nigeria, a union of journalists in Edo State, Nigeria. Takes us to exactly 20 minutes after 4 p.m.